Hi everyone, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench, and welcome back to the channel. Here we have now part 19 of the Hachette Lancaster bomber B.III, and this is basically the Dambuster bomber. If you haven't seen the previous parts, go back and have a look. It's a lovely little build. It is a part work, yes, but it's the nicest part work I've ever seen, I think. If you want to get one, you can follow this link. If you look at the QR code there I've put, you can go on that, or go to the website across the bottom. Go and have a look and see what you think, and you might want to join in and build one with me. I'm also doing another series of videos called Hachette Lancaster Bomber Revisited, and what I'm doing is going back over the build and adding some detail and painting things and changing some colours and this, that and the other, basically correcting what's wrong that every manufacturer gets wrong when they do Lancasters. So without further ado, let's get into this one. This one's part 19. I believe in here we've got parts of our engine. So from memory, from the back of the magazine at part 18. So there's our little box of parts. I've actually had these come. I've got 19, 20, 21 and 22. So they all come together as one lot. So without further ado, let's have a look at the magazine as we normally do. So going into the magazine here, beautifully presented as usual. We have our production or pre-production model there with no dihedral. Dihedral will be there on the real thing. Here's all the contacts, and then here we've got the this is the first engine. So they're saying the first engine, no doubt we're going to get 4, so there's probably going to be like 8 magazines will just be the engine assemblies. So there's our instructions on how it all goes together. So there we go. And then here we've got Lancaster FM212. This is the Canadian Lancaster that's currently being worked on, and lots of videos on YouTube about this one, so it's telling you all about that one in there. You can see there she is in her post-war scheme. And then 2nd Tactical Air Force Operations on D-Day. So I'm obviously seeing this for the first time with you. You just see me open the packet, so we can see there's a Mozzie there going in and attacking something or other. Oh, they're attacking a U-boat. So there we go. So there's some Typhoons there. Remember, the Typhoons had the invasion stripes that people call them, but they're not. They're actually ID stripes on the lower wings to stop them being hit out of the air by our own guys. And then on the back of the magazine here, you can see we've got our next parts. So we've got starboard cylinders and some more exhaust parts and everything. So there we go. So that's our magazine. So let's go back to this part. And the first thing we're going to do is open our box of bits and just see what we've got in here. So we have 2 little bags that can go in the recycling. We have 2 little plastic bags here with our parts. So first thing we do, as per usual, check all the parts, make sure it's all there, and then if it's not, we can contact customer services. And I haven't had to contact them, but I have heard from you guys that customer services at Hachette are brilliant, so that's good to know. Okay, so we've got a sump there, an engine sump. Sorry, that's the sump, that's the block. And then we've got that bit there, that's a dynamo. It's great with these magazines, they tell you what every part is, rather than, like, you know, with the standard plastic kit, you just get part 1, part 2, part 3. This is telling you what it all is. Plastic kits used to tell you what all the parts were, but they don't anymore. So there's our cylinder. There, 19F cylinder portal. I think that's carries the water. It's like the water jacket from cylinder to cylinder. Ignition harness there. We've got here 19J is a cylinder head cover. So that's the cam cover, rocker cover, whatever you want to call it. We've got some exhausts here, so we should have 6 of those. 5, 6 we have, and we should have 6 ignition harness leads. HT leads, there we go. So all of that there, we've got there. So that's good, we're good to go. Right, so what have we got to do? Read this little bit. This little bit here is always key to this actual, not the general magazine, the whole thing, but just to this magazine. You will need to glue the parts in place in each step of the assembly. Check how the parts fit together first, then apply super glue to the pegs at the fixing points and allow them to dry before moving on to the next step. Yeah, noting all the details of the shapes, the size, the position of any pegs. So let's have a look. So it's trying to get the light on. So it's telling us here, to glue the dynamo into the side of the engine block, and then part 2, step 2, is going to be assembling the sump onto the engine block, and then we're going to put the 2 cylinder halves together. Now I don't have any glue out ready, so I may have to stop in a minute. So we've got our engine block there, and you can see got this lug here at the side. We've got the radius part is at the front, so you see you've got a radius part of the engine there is at the front, so that is going to go into there. Now I'm going to try and avoid using any glue at this stage if I can, because that's a very tight fit, because I want to go back and redo it, as you know. Here's a D-shaped peg going into a D-shaped hole, but it is extremely tight, so I'm going to get my little sander. I'm just going to sand some plastic off of the flat, just to make that D a little bit smaller. And then just pop that. There we go. See how much better that went in then? Just all it takes is a little bit of cleanup, just to remove a bit of paint or whatever. So there we go. So that's got in there. You can see that dynamo in there. And then we've got to fit the sump. You've got a radius end on the sump, you've got a sharp end, so make sure you get it the right way round. So that's just going to push together like that. So there we go. So there's our engine block together. And then we're going to build up this is actually the cylinder. I call this the block, I call this the cylinders, they're calling this the cylinder block. But there's 2 halves there, and they are literally just going to pop together just like that. Okay, so we've got a nasty seam line front and back, which we can deal with later. We've also got a sprue nib on the bottom, which we could deal with later. And then here we're going to fit this is the water elbow, and they're telling us to make sure we get it right. And what they're showing us here is you can see that this pin is closer to this end than that pin is to that end. Okay, you can see the distance there is longer than the distance there. So that bit goes to this end. Okay, so that's just going to push into there. And then we've got the ignition harness, 19G, and that's going to go into the holes there underneath. I've just done this wrong, haven't I? No, I haven't. I thought I'd done it wrong. It's all very difficult to see because it's all black. But there are holes in the cylinder . Let me just check this a minute. It looks like something's not right. It looks like I've done something wrong, because it's looking like I physically cannot get that to go in. Okay, stupid me, I was doing it wrong. I was trying to put the end here, this end, into the hole. It doesn't, it overhangs. So that ignition harness just literally pops into those holes in those cylinders like that. As I say, when you do yours, make sure you glue everything. I'm not gluing it because I want to take it apart again. And going over the magazine, we're going to check we've got the ignition harnesses here, so we're going to get some tweezers and we're going to look at these, and you can see that they are tiny little plastic mouldings, but you can see one end is kind of longer than the other here, and that longer end is going to go upwards, I believe. Wow. Makes this so difficult for me to see, let alone you guys, because it's all black. And my tweezers are doing a useless job of holding it. In fact, I think it's actually broken. Oh no, it's flexible, that's why. They're vinyl. That's why it's so difficult to put in. Okay, I'm going to do that off camera under a magnifier because they are Very, very flexible and very difficult to fit. I may have to glue all this together, we'll see. Alright, so hopefully you can see those in there. I haven't glued them in yet, but they will need to be glued. But, hopefully you can see them. They're in there going into that ignition harness and then going up. But they are vinyl, they will need to be glued, they will not stay there on their own. Next thing is to fit the exhausts. So we've got 6 exhausts and we need to make sure they go in starting at the back. And they are also going to need to be glued because they don't fit very tightly. Okay, so those ignition harnesses are staying in place for now, but if I fitted them to the model, they would all just fall out, I can assure you, so they do need to be glued. So you will have to have a pin and some super glue. In fact, what I'll do, I'll go back and I'll glue them now and I'll show you how I do it. Okay, so I've got this all glued together. There's a couple of ways of gluing these ignition leads in, these little HT leads. What you can do is, with your little pin tool, is just put a drop of glue into each hole, okay? Or what you can do is take your lead in your tweezers. Now remember this lead has a short and a long end, and the long end is going at the top. Okay, so the long end is going up towards the exhaust. And what we can do is take that in our tweezers and just very gently dip it into the glue, so we get a tiny little drop of glue on each end, and then we can put that in that hole. And I need my magnifier for this because I'm old and I can't see what I'm doing, but you can basically see that's how it's going to go. Now I'm going to have to go off camera and do this because I cannot see a thing. 1, because it's all black, 2, because it's tiny, 3, because I'm old and I need to get my eyes tested. But there we go. Okay. So that's gone in just like that. You can see that lead in there. Alright, so I'm going to do the other 5 and then I'll come back. Okay, so they're all glued in, as you can see there. Well, you can't see, should I say, but they're in there anyway. So now it's time to fit the exhaust. So once again, what we're going to do with these is just, we've got a little puddle of glue here, we'll just dip them in. A little drop of glue on there, get a little bit more on there actually. And then remember, this glue is also acts as a filler if you need it. If you've got gaps, it can be used as a filler. Those exhausts are a very sloppy fit. So make sure you've got the right end as well. Dip the right end in the glue. And then they're going to go into there. Just like so. Make sure they all line up. As I say, they are a very sloppy fit, so it's kind of difficult to know what sort of angle they should be on or anything. As long as they're in a straight line, we should be fine. So we'll do the same once again with this one. Push that one into there. What we'll do is we'll fit them all and then we'll get them all sort of looking good. As I say, they're not the best of fits. Yeah, they really are not good. In fact, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking maybe we need to trim these tabs. Because they are just so sloppy. Alright, yeah, they are very sloppy. So what I've done, you can see on here we have the tiny little tab that goes on. I'm just taking about 0.5 millimeter off its length, just reducing the length slightly to let it go into the hole deeper. Okay, and then we can drop a super glue on there and then just plonk it in its hole, and that way it sits up flush against the side of the cylinder head. There we go. Okay, So just look along it, look along its length. You can see they're not quite straight. We can get a straight edge, just give them a nudge, get them all straight and lined up, make sure they look good from the top as well. So there we go. So that's our exhaust in place, and now we're going to fit the, they call it the cylinder block cover, cylinder head cover on top of the cylinder block. So that piece there, and there's going to be 2 holes in the top which are offset. Yep. So you can see the pins are offset to one side, the holes are offset to one side. So that's literally going to plonk in there like that. It's a very snug fit, and it doesn't need gluing. Okay, so that's gone in there like that. So you can see there, you can see one side of our engine, or not as the case may be, but very nicely detailed, I must say, but very, very fiddly, especially for the novices out there or the newer modelers. So take your time. I would well, that's easy for you to say. I would thoroughly recommend this VMS Flexi 5K CA black thin. 1, it's black. 2, it's thin. 3, it doesn't set straight away, so you've got time to move stuff around. You can imagine if you're using ordinary super glue, all those exhausts would just dry as soon as you put them on there, and then you wouldn't be able to move them. Whereas with this, you see, I can move them, I can nudge them, because it gels off, and after a few hours it goes solid. And there we are, that's our cylinder head together. Okay, so that's the completed work for step 19, or pack 19 should I say. If there's anything else to do, nope. So I'll see you all soon for pack 20. Thank you for watching, bye for now. This is probably the most fiddly step of the build yet, I must be honest, and yeah, we'll see where it takes us next. See you all soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.